Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wonder Series, your weekly chance to wonder what life would be like if you looked at it from a different perspective, if you opened yourself up to the possibilities and truly opened your mind to all of the opportunities that are actually around you. Who would you become? What would you create? Most importantly, how would you live that healthy, happy, purpose filled, and fulfilling life you have always dreamed of? Well, today I'm so excited. It is the first Wonder Series of January. And this year, we are going to be talking about our overarching theme, which is resilience. Resilience is something that we all need to have in our lives, whether, we're personally, professionally, or whatever we're dealing with. Resilience really is something that is so important. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Denise Stegall. I'm the CEO and curator at Living Healthy List, and of course, your host for the Wonder Series. My guest today is the lovely Jacquie Pugh. Jacquie is a freedom and fulfillment coach, master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming, and certified life and emotional intelligence coach. She helps people all around the world to use their old flame and light the new fire. Through humor, knowledge, and experience, she guides her clients through uncovering blocks and ineffective life patterns, because we know we all have those, especially those things that are holding us back. She also uses all of that, included with introducing massive action, because action is essential here in life, in order to activate major desired lifestyle changes. And again, when it comes to lifestyle changes, we know we need to be thinking about being resilient when it comes to that. So Jacquie, hi there. How are you today?
Hi, I'm great. How about you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Wonder Series. So, Jacquie, you are doing a lot of stuff, freedom and fulfillment coach, master practitioner of neuro linguistic programming. That's a lot of letters in there.
We usually say NLP just to make it easy.
NLP world.
Yeah.
And emotional intelligence, which is really a big buzz nowadays. So, tell us a little bit about Jacquie and how you got to doing all of these amazing things.
Yeah, I'm going to try to sum it up for you guys because it's quite the story.
We love
But
stories.
and I love teaching through stories, so that's great. I've always been the inspirer and the motivator since I was a little girl. And had I known that being a life coach was a job, I probably would have gone to school for psychology, but really wasn't a thing then.
Mhm.
Um, so I just continued inspiring those around me, and I traveled the country doing professional musical theater.
Oh, we just lost your sound.
Uh-oh, am I
There
still
you
there?
go.
Okay, I get
You're
a
back.
phone call came through. Um, Doing professional musical theater all over the country and personal training. I did professional real estate. I was one of those people that always had to have my hands, if anybody relates, in a bunch of different things. And everybody would tell me, Jackie, you have to pick one thing, one thing, one thing. I don't want to pick one thing. And I felt like there was something wrong with me. I would beat myself up. But the more that I've done this work, the internal work, the more I've discovered that that's actually my personality type. And it's okay. And it all has actually led me to taking all of that knowledge and putting it into my practice of life coaching. So I'm able to actually relate to people on so many different levels because I have that experience. But along that journey, I have gone through my share of heartbreak, lots of breakups, like traumatic breakups. And I was in real estate full time because I was told that I needed to have a real job according to society. And I got so depressed, I hit my own rock bottom and I couldn't get out of bed for 2 months. The idea of, and there's nothing wrong with real estate is great. I just knew that I should be doing something like life coaching. And I
Mhm.
had my own limiting beliefs running through my mind. And so the idea of getting up to go find a house to buy or sell to somebody, it just was eating my soul alive. And one day I finally made it to the couch and I asked myself, what is the common denominator? What is the common denominator in all of the unfulfillment in my life, financially, career wise, romantically, family, with friends. I'm like, there's got to be something juicy to blame it on, and I can't wait till I figure it out. And I did. And it was me. And I was like, me? Like, how could it be me? I had about 5 minutes of being in victim mode. And then I realized, wait a minute, if I'm the common denominator, that means that I don't have to wait for anything outside of me to change. I can actually change it. I have the power to change it. And so, without having any income coming in for 2 months, my life coach that I had worked with a little bit in the past, he had launched a 6 month long life coaching program. And I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to pay for this. It was thousands of dollars. But I'm like, I know this is for me, and it will find a way out of no way. And so I did. And I signed up, and I faced off with all of those limiting beliefs. I had the least amount of fun in my entire life. Because we have this like picture that self-development is like running in fields with, daisies and rainbows. And you'll have moments like that, and you'll get there. But the process of getting there is like locking yourself in a dark room by yourself with like handheld rusty tools, doing open heart surgery on yourself until you find the problem and actually fix it, versus putting a Band-Aid on it, because it's going to keep leaking with the Band-Aid, right? You got to actually heal it. So once I did all that work on myself, then I knew I was in a place where I could step into the life that I wanted, and I could help others get to the same place that I got. So that's what I do now after I got all my certifications that you've listed.
No, it's important. And I think, one of the things that I see over and over again with those of us in the coaching realm is at some point we don't feel we have enough information, we have enough knowledge. So we go for different certifications. And what I find, especially with myself and some of the experts that we have on Living Healthy List, they all kind of work on one another. Like you have to do one before you can do the next one. And the knowledge just grows and grows. And I think at some point you kind of step back as a coach and go, I really do know what I'm talking about. One, because I have the education, but two, I have the experience. And I think you bring a very good point. You said, I have the power to change it. Mm-hmm. That I think is the most important thing for all of us to understand, is we have the power within us. We just sometimes have to figure out what that power is and really how to dip into it. And I think that's where coaches come in, especially coaches like you who have this real background in education, but truly, as you've told us about your life experience, that piece is really what connects to people, and I think is probably the most important. Education is great, but if you haven't experienced the things that other people are experiencing, you can't help them as deeply as they may need to.
Right. It's like hiring a personal trainer who's never had to lose weight, right? It's hard for them to empathize and sympathize with you and actually lead you through that mindset because they haven't been there themselves, right? And so when you can have somebody like you or I who's actually been there, who's been in your shoes, I don't ever give my clients anything that I haven't personally done myself in order to step into the life that I want. But it comes with the word of the year, resiliency. I needed to be so resilient in the work that I was doing with my coach, no matter what. And the fact that I paid thousands of dollars that I didn't have helped me be resilient, because I was like, you better believe I'm going to get any piece of gold out of this that I possibly can. And the resilience is what got me there. Mm-hmm. And there are amazing other people that I went on that journey with in that program. And I can honestly say, not that it's a competition whatsoever, but I do know that I'm one of the people that had like leaping bounds of success in the program because I was resilient and I was committed. No matter what I was going through, I still showed up and I faced off with those emotions inside of me that I didn't want to face.
Mm-hmm. And the commitment is such a hard piece of it. So let's talk a little bit about emotions and how they kind of get in the way.
Emotions. So emotions, for anyone who's listening, are purely energy and motion. They're meant to come through, we experience them, and then they leave. But the way that society teaches us is it's only okay to have like the quote unquote good emotions, right? And nothing is good or bad unless we label it that. So when we have something like dark and heavy come through, we're like, that one's not cute. I'm just gonna like shove that down. But it's energy, so it's a mass. So now it's in your body, and you're like, I'm gonna carry this with me everywhere I go. Well, the way that energy works is like energy attracts like energy. So if you're carrying around sadness or anger inside of you, you're going to keep attracting, calling in, or creating the same experience, which that's a whole other topic, that will mirror what you're feeling inside.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can get stuck in this cycle and in this loop of I want to get out of feeling depressed. I want to get out of feeling angry. I want to get out of feeling fill in the blank. But the only way to get out of it is to feel it. We have to allow ourselves to feel it. We get to give ourselves permission. And I was one of those people who I'm very sensitive. I'm a very emotional person. But I used to cry like all the time. Like I was known as the crier at work, at everywhere. I was known as the crier. And I used to beat myself up about it. Now I don't cry as much because I realized subconsciously why I was crying and what I was seeking from that. So I have a handle on it now, but I'm still emotional.
Sure.
And I would beat myself up over it. And one day I had just moved to Denver. I went to this brand new church, and this random girl came up to me, and I was feeling like really down on myself because I was going through a hard time. Like I just moved there for a guy who broke up with me over the phone 6 days later. Like my stuff was still in shipment. I was in real estate. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know that you needed to know people to sell real estate. So I was like in a spot and very emotional. And this random girl comes up to me, and she's like, have you ever felt like you've had too many emotions? I was like, who does she know that I know? And I was like, yeah. She's like, I used to feel the same way. And then one day I was sitting on a park bench, and this older woman came up to me, and she said, honey, do you know how lucky you are to be able to feel and experience all of the emotions that you have? Some people on this planet don't get to feel any of that. And you have been blessed with the gift to feel everything that life has to offer. I have goosebumps as I'm saying it. It's like, I never thought of it like that. I never thought of it like that. And then I went to an energy healer that I didn't feel aligned with starting out with. So I take responsibility with that. But she did this technique on me, and she's like, you might feel like you have the flu for 3 days, if anything. And then you should feel like totally fine. It's like, okay. Well, day 7, I messaged her, and I'm like, I'm sitting on the couch, and I still have no emotions. Like nothing. I wasn't mad. I wasn't sad. I wasn't depressed. I wasn't happy. I just sat there. Like there was nothing. It was like a real life, It's a Wonderful Life story.
Wow.
Where he got to see what life would be like not living. I got to see what it would be like to not have emotions. And then an old friend said something that was like, it made me very mad. And so all of a sudden it like sparked this anger in me. And I was so angry, and I was so happy that I was feeling angry. It was like, oh my God, I don't ever want to have to feel what life feels like without emotions ever again. Like ever again. And so the work that I do with people is, one, I give you permission to feel it. I take you through a whole process on how to feel it in an effective way that will actually help you move forward in life. Because we could also get stuck in it, right? We can wallow in it, or we can allow it. So I help you allow it, and then you're able to move on and work on those limiting beliefs and those patterns and rewire your brain from there. But in order to begin rewiring your brain, you have to deal with those emotions inside first. You have to. That's the block.
And that's one of the hardest things, is to finally say, okay, I need to do this. What do you think with your clients? Like, what is more often than not the last straw? People are finally saying, okay, I need help. Where are most people when they come to you? Because I think I think it'll be pretty similar than to something that we're all kind of going through.
Yeah. Um, there's definitely a few different commonalities and patterns. One, when it comes to limiting beliefs, I find that all of my clients, including myself, I used to feel the same way, is I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough or in shape enough, fill in the blank, I'm not enough at something. Everybody, for the most part, has those same limiting beliefs. Even like Giselle, whatever her name is, the model, I'm sure at some moments in her life she experiences it as well. And until you get tools like this to start to change it, they keep popping up louder and louder and louder. Until you get tools, there's still like it still pops up for me, but I have a way to work around it now. So commonalities are thought processes like that, and also many of my clients are soon to be recovering people pleasers. So I'm a recovering people pleaser.
I understand that.
Yeah, it's like they get to the you get to the point where you're like, I've done so much. I've tried doing this to make this person happy or society happy. I've tried this job. I've tried doing this. I tried doing that. I still feel unfulfilled inside. What else can I do? So they get into it from like a people pleasing aspect of what else can I do to be better. But for the first time in their lives, they end up realizing it's about living life for them and getting to do life for them and fulfilling themselves from the inside out and not worrying about if Susie or Sam is happy, because ultimately they're not going to bed. Like whatever you think that like our minds can get caught up in, oh, I know, like my mom thinks that I should be making this decision with my life, or my cousin thinks I should be doing this decision with my life. I'm going to stay in real estate. And we think that they're thinking about it all day long, but at the end of the day, they might have a huge loud opinion about it.
Yep.
When they hit the pillow at night, they're worried about what's going on in their life. They're not having to deal with the consequences of their opinion in your life. Only you are. And so I help you gain power over that and start living from a place of people pleasing yourself first. And that is where the freedom lies.
I love it, because when you were saying about, mom and your cousin and whoever, how everybody has this opinion of what you should be doing. One of the things that came up for me was forgiveness. You kind of have to forgive people for those things. Whether it's, the conversation you had with your mom about whatever it might be, or your sister or your brother, whatever that conversation might be. And even if it was an argument, 9 out of 10 times after it's happened, that other person has forgotten about it, and you just kind of sit and wallow. And so it's very similar as the people pleaser. You're always trying, giving, and thinking about what other people are thinking about you. And same thing when it comes to forgiveness, is you still think that all those people are thinking about you all the time. And you're right, they're not. They're thinking about themselves first and foremost. And that's a big lesson for us to learn.
Yeah. And just hearing you phrase that, like what pops up in my mind is when I had personal training clients and I had females who they'd have homework to go do some, workouts when I wasn't there, and they'd be so scared to go in the weight room. Because what are all these people going to think about them lifting 5 pounds or whatever it is? So I would take the girls and we would go into the weight room and we would just stand there in the middle of the weight room. I'm like, I just want you to look around for like 1 minute. Just look around. So they would look around, and then I'd be like, okay, how many people were looking at me and you? And they're like, none. I'm like, how many people were looking in the mirror at their muscles and how their muscles look and what their form looks like? They're like, everybody. I'm like, yeah, because they don't care what you're lifting. They don't care. They're more focused on themselves. But we create this whole story. Like 99% of our fears are just made up. They're just made up. And so when we can kind of get that perspective, it helps change our perspective on life.
Yes. And I think you make a good point. 99% of our fears are just made up. And it's the same thing with people who are always worried about something that's going to happen. Well, 99% of the stuff that we're thinking is going to happen never happens. So it really is, one, a waste of energy to go through and think about these things all the time, when truly it's so much more simple, isn't it? When you think, What do I need? What do I want? What do I do for me?
Mm-hmm.
A lot
Yeah.
more simple. So, Jackie, give us a couple of tips and tricks that, somebody today who's listening is saying, that sounds like me. What's a first step for someone?
Well, always the first step I'm going to say, and this is not coming from anything other than this is truly what works, is find your support system. Like,
Mm,
find your coach, find your therapist. It's important, yes, to have friends around you, um, or a family member, or like one person that you can confide in if you have that. And I think professional support is the biggest thing, because my poor friends, like, I would dump on them all the time. And I knew, like, people would be like, maybe you should go to therapy. And at the time, because there was such a stigma around it, I was like, there's
mhm,
something wrong with me. Like, but even if I were to go to therapy, I don't know what's wrong, so I don't know what to talk about.
mhm,
But now that I've done the work, I've realized it's the therapist and the coach that actually pull that thing to the surface so that
mhm.
you know what it is. And they can help guide you there. So friends and family, like, it's great to have that support. Find a person that you can confide in, and I would definitely seek professional guidance of some sort, because there doesn't get to be a stigma around mental health anymore. When we go to school, they teach us how to write in cursive, or at least they used to.
They used to. I don't think they
They
do
teach
anymore.
us not anymore, but they teach us how to write. Someone teaches you how to ride a bike, how to drive a car. They teach you what to think in school. They don't teach you how to think.
So important.
And so when we go out in the world and we have life situations come up and we have emotional things come up and traumas, and we feel like we're a failure because we don't know how to deal with that, that's really not fair. Nobody has taught you the most essential part of life. So in my mind, when we seek mental health support, it's saying, okay, they didn't teach me this in school, and I'm ready to take the power back of my own
Mhm.
life and find the professional who's going to take my life to the next level. Not
Yep.
because there's something wrong with me, just so that I can, like, learn how to become the most badass epic version of myself as possible. Like, that's all that it's really about.
Absolutely. How do you know something? If you don't, sometimes we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. There has been a stigma in the past when it comes to mental health. And, obviously there are people who really struggle with real serious things. I think most of us though struggle with something throughout our lives. And it doesn't matter if there was a situation, something that happened, it could be somebody said something to you when you were 12 that sticks with you,
Yeah.
and it's so hard. And that's where limiting beliefs begin. But I think what I've noticed in my life looking back is, we look to our teachers in our schools, we look to our community, we look to our parents, to teach us these things. But what if they haven't been taught those things? So how can a parent teach you how to really understand, yourself and your thought process, and really how to deal with emotions if they've never been taught how to do that? And my family background, my parents are English, and their background is very they don't really talk about emotion. Not that they're not emotional people, but they don't talk about emotion. They don't talk about things. And it always kind of gets pushed aside. Now, I'm pretty lucky that, my mom kind of saw through that and was much more forthcoming for somebody who never had that in her life, that experience in her life. So I think it's really important that you mentioned that, we do need to seek professional help, whether it is a counselor, a psychologist, psychiatrist, or a coach, because coaches bring something unique to the table.
Mhm.
And I think that's what we're trying to show at Living Healthy List is you have to start somewhere. And coaches are those people who have been through it, who really understand and have the experience to really get you started and to get you from point A to point B.
Mhm.
whether somebody needs additional support, you kind of figure that out along their journey, don't you think?
Absolutely. Like, and I've had one-on-one therapy, I had one-on-one coaching, and I had group coaching all at the same time. And now what I do is primarily group coaching because I saw that that was the thing that changed my life. So I have a small, intimate, select group of people that I'll work with a few times a year in a small capacity. 3.5 months, you're in, you're out, you change your life. Like, it's not a pill, but I feel like it's as close as a magic pill as I could give you. And therapy, I feel, serves a purpose. I think it's great to have an unbiased opinion to talk to somebody.
Yes.
And there are different types of therapies out there. My experience and all of the people that I have worked with, we all pretty much have had the same experience where you go in, vent, you may or may not get a new perspective or a little piece of homework, you leave, you can't talk to them for a month or however long it is till your next session. Same similar situation comes up, you go back, you vent, same scenario, maybe different people or different players, and you kind of can get stuck in a pattern. Where coaching, at least the way that I work, is what is it that we have going on, and we're going to take immediate action on it. And I see you every week. You have my contact information. Like, you can reach out to me at 3 o'clock in the morning. I probably won't respond, but when I wake up and I'm available, I'm going to respond so we can nip this thing in the butt and change the behavior. So
that's an important, yes. You just made a very good point. It's changing the behavior, and you can't do that if you're doing it once a month, as opposed to thinking about it every day and working on it every day.
Every day. And that's where you get to be resilient. Because you get to say, this isn't, you are going to be doing self-development forever if you choose to be resilient and committed to the growth that you see, because you will have mind-blowing transformations. But if you can commit to, we'll just use my program as an example, to 3.5 months of, okay, this is my commitment. It's not forever. It's for like 100 days. I'm going to be focused on this for 100 days, which is like a little dot out of your whole life to change your life. You can do massive things. But like, a bodybuilder can't go to the gym if they're competing for a competition and go work out one time a month and then be ready to go compete, right? They have to be in there every day working that muscle, and our brain is a muscle.
Absolutely. And I think you make a good point that your program is 3.5 months. And, especially for most people, you can get that around your mind. Whether, people need more down the road, that's one thing. But when you're in a program for 3.5 months, you're focused on something. You're probably focused on one thing. And of course, that's really all we can focus on at a time is one thing. Even though as women, we think we're really good at multitasking. We're not.
I always say that.
We all say it. And so I think I really commend you for saying, the program is 3.5 months. And I mean, I personally enjoy working with group programs as well. I like the energy that comes. There's that word, energy. I like the energy that comes with a group program, because you get so many more insights when you're in a group. And one-on-one is great, and it does have its place, obviously. But I love working with a group. It kind of lights me up and excites me to get up and say, okay, how are we gonna up level our lives today?
It's a we, right? Because you're not alone in it. Like, you have all these other people going through it with you, who are your cheerleaders and who are also facing things off. They're like, I don't really want to do this today, but come on, let's go do it. Maybe not together, but at the same time. Right. And it gives life. It's energizing. And Sally's breakdown might be the breakthrough that I need to realize, oh my God, like, maybe for a moment I'm like, dang, Sally, like, you got some stuff going on. But then I realize, oh my gosh, I do the same exact thing. I didn't realize that's what's been stopping me from X, Y, and Z. Now I'm aware, and now I can do something about it.
Exactly. And you make a good point. You're not alone. And I think that's really, really an important thing for us all to remember, is we're not alone in this world. You mentioned earlier about friends and family and their support. That's great. You do need to have those people, but they also have their own preconceived ideas and emotions when it comes to you.
Yeah.
And so I think that having that is great, but also having this additional support is really vital to our resilience and really creating that life that we really do want to live. That life we've always dreamed of. Remember when you were a kid, you had this idea of who you were going to be and what you were going to do. And then, you went to school and you got a job and it stopped looking the way you had always dreamed it could be.
Yeah.
But what if it did? What if it looked exactly the way you wanted it to? That's where
Yeah.
I see you coming in, Jackie.
Yeah, I can't. It's so exciting. Like, it's like selfish, but it's not selfish because I just love what I do. It's so exciting seeing people like leave a horrible breakup and all of a sudden they're engaged now, and like, or they hated their job and now they have their dream job, or they were making nothing in their business and now they own their own business and they have like 2 or 3 people working underneath them. It's all doable. But what I have found, it's about who you surround yourself with.
Very good point. I'm going to leave it at that. Jackie, tell everyone how they can find you, some more information about Jacqui Pugh and your program, and take it away.
Yeah, you guys can find me at jacquiepugh.com. I think my name is on here.
Yep.
JACQUIPUGH.com. You'll see on there like 14-week program changed my life. You can click on there if it interests you. You can find me if you just want free content and inspiration at Jacqui_Pugh on Instagram. And for anybody, I just would like to leave you with something tangible, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
If you're feeling anxiety, if you have, how we talked about, like a million different thoughts running around in your brain, if you're at work and you're stressed out by your boss or you can't fall asleep at night, it sounds super basic. It sounds like common knowledge, but sometimes common knowledge is not common practice. And I would like to leave you with this, and I'll guide you through it, like through 2 breaths. But as Denise was saying, we cannot have more than one thought at a time. Even though it feels like it, we can't. So when you do this breathing technique I'm going to give you, I invite you to count the breaths in your mind, because you can only have one thought at a time. So your brain now is only focused on the numbers versus the stuff you have going on. And we can only breathe one of 2 ways. So if you breathe super shallow and fast up in your chest, that activates your sympathetic nervous system. So your brain is like, oh my God, we're in fight or flight. Tiger's coming. My boss is totally the tiger, or fill in the blank, whatever that thing is for you. And it gets you going. It gets you filled with anxiety. But if you breathe slow and deep in your belly and do opposite once again of what society says, and fill your belly up and push it out with as much air as possible, super slow, deep breaths, you actually activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which tells your brain, we're good. Everything's cool. We are okay. And it naturally calms your body down. So what it looks like is you put one hand on your belly, you breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. When you just count, you breathe in for 5, fill up your belly with a bunch of air, 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale for 5, super slow, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you can do that 10 times. If you find you start thinking about your dog or lemons, that's okay. Start back at 1. I do the same thing, and I always end up falling asleep. So it's just a quick little tool just to calm your nervous system down. I know the world is crazy right now. Just see something in your back pocket. So I hope that serves you guys.
That was wonderful. Thank you. Just as you were talking about, I was doing it with you, and truly I could feel the calm, the sense of calm come wash over me. And I always think I'm pretty calm, but
I'm like doing it with you now.
there's always a little bit more calm we can have.
Mm-hmm.
So Jackie, thank you so much for this amazing conversation, these tips and strategies that you have given us today. Everybody, please check out Jackie on her website, excuse me, on her Instagram. She's really awesome on Instagram, so check her out there. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us here on the Wonder Series. We are here every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we go live on Facebook and on YouTube, and you can find us on Spotify, on anchor.com, Google, or wherever you find your podcasts. Have a great week, everyone. I'm going to leave you with this. Till next time, healthy living, happy life. We'll see you then.
Thank you.